In today's video, we're going to be diving into things, taking a look at some major storms across the nation, including our very new Hurricane Francine, which is now located in the Gulf of Mexico, soon to strike Louisiana. So we're going to be diving into that system. We do have some snowfall, some of the first snowfall of the season we're going to be also diving into, and a cool down in the eastern states once again looking likely during the month of September. Right now we're taking a look at these 7-day temperature anomalies, except it's the past 7 days, not the future 7 days, and this is how the past 7 days have gone. Like I said in yesterday's video, I want to continue showing this so that we can have kind of an idea of what the pattern has been before diving into what the pattern will be. So this is kind of the base of what we've been seeing. I will mention that it has turned around within that 7-day period. So this is likely mostly due to the 5 days in the beginning of this, obviously. We do see warmer temperatures across the west, so a positive PNA was really dominant, and this caused cold air to dive southward across the south central states and into a lot of the eastern states here. We saw a really nice fall time cool down, and you can tell that there's a really solid core in here across some of the Midwest, South Central, and Mid-Atlantic states. And these are areas where we saw, 5 to 15 degrees below normal, certainly far below typical for this time of year for a lot of these areas. Let's take a look here at our entire nation as we just kind of dive into some of these storms. And by the time we reach tomorrow afternoon, this is going to be the look. We see Hurricane Francine here lowering in pressure and approaching closer and closer to Louisiana. I think the most likely intensity here that we're going to see is a Category 2 hurricane. This one really could overperform, so keep that in mind. And, we mentioned this earlier on in the hurricane season with one of our tropical systems, but the wind is impacted by the category of the storm, but the flooding certainly is not. Okay, so the flooding potential really can be bad in some weaker storms, and in stronger storms it can be a lot less impactful. So there's a lot of impacts that are not directly based on what category the storm is. So we don't want to underestimate these storms regardless of the intensity. Even tropical depressions and tropical storms can bring catastrophic flooding. So we're going to take a look at the total rainfall that we're expecting here. We can tell that there is plenty of storms happening around the entire Gulf Coast as a result of this tropical activity. We're also seeing a cooler, more rainy pattern set up for the Northwest, kind of typical for there, right? And we're seeing quite a bit of showers in here. The jet stream overall is dipping underneath this, ridging just to the east of the Rockies, and then kind of tapering off as we head eastward from that point, where we see more neutral temperatures for a lot of these areas. As we move towards Friday, well, let's take a look at Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. I'm getting all my days mixed up here. We peak at about a 979 millibar low pressure center here on your European model, striking somewhere in central Louisiana, still kind of being the most likely outcome. And we've seen models really showing a consistent outlook for days now. They've had a really nice handle. As long as we see this verify, I would give the models an A+ on this system because they've continued to basically show the same thing for days now. It's been truly impressive, again, as long as it verifies. We do see some strong storms throughout eastern Texas, southern Arkansas, Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and southern Georgia as well throughout the entire state of Florida also. Outside of that tropical activity, we do see showers are way more prevalent throughout the Northwest now. We see the Pacific Northwest, the Rockies now being involved. There is some snowfall happening in here at times. We're going to dive into that. We can see a lot of this by the time we're looking at Thursday afternoon. This will be about 2 p.m. Eastern. So I guess that would be mountain time, I guess, about 11 a.m., something around that time. I'm pretty bad with translating the time zones, but I think that should be 11 a.m. mountain time on Thursday. We are seeing some snowfall coming down for the mountaintops of Idaho, Montana, Wyoming for sure. We do see that your tropical system is, of course, weakening as it moves over land. It's around central Mississippi by this point, bringing quite a bit of heavy rainfall throughout the Gulf states here. Again, total precipitation is coming up. As we take a look at Friday afternoon, this storm will have significantly died down. So we're seeing a lot less activity from it. There is widespread showers and thunderstorms, though, happening in here for a lot of these areas. We're not seeing the most intense storms anymore, but we are seeing states like Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, a lot of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, even North Carolina and Virginia seeing some showers from this. So as it weakens, they tend to spread out. The impacts become a lot less, well, impactful, but they do become more widespread, and that is exactly what we're seeing take place here. A lot of your storms across the northwest have moved northward into Canada there. So we see a low here, and we see a lot of precipitation around, but primarily for Canada. Some of northern Montana and a lot of North Dakota here getting it, but mostly Canada. As we move this even further forward towards Saturday on September 14th, we see that the west is still quieter. We see a lot of these storms as a result of Francine are still around for the southeast corner of the nation, and that does extend as far westward as, I would say, the Midwest. So we're seeing quite a bit of widespread activity here, stretching very, very far, as you can see. A spot that we're going to be watching now for potentially another tropical cyclone is going to be off the southeast. You can see we have this bubble of really, really intense precipitation happening there. This is going to be something to really, really watch over the coming days. We see it already by Saturday. By Sunday, we see some lower pressure beginning to form, and this is when things are getting real. We see a low pressure system trying to form Sunday the 15th. A ridge overall over a lot of the United States, kind of troughing over the east, but nothing too significant whatsoever. Probably warmer for a lot of your central and western states here. Let's take it towards Monday. And this is when we really get going with this low pressure system. 999 on Monday, September 16th. Already bringing showers and thunderstorms, likely wind as well, to eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia as well. We do see some thunderstorms across some of your Midwest, down through the plains and the south central states. We also see that for a lot of the west, even the southwest here, we're seeing some storms come on shore as a result of a wacky jet stream kind of moving onshore to California here, ridging straight up the Rockies and then around here the central states. Something like this is what the jet stream is doing. So that's pulling storms onshore and then likely northward here from this point. Here is Tuesday afternoon on September 17th. We see this tropical system does reach into eastern North Carolina here. Definitely something that we're going to be watching. Would not be surprised to see the National Hurricane Center add this into their outlook tomorrow. So for tomorrow's video, be on the lookout for this, as this is something that we've seen all the models start to consistently show just as of today. So it's a little bit of a surprise system, another homegrown one as it develops off the southeast, and definitely something that we're going to be watching. The jet stream develops into a major trough across the west, ridging over these plains states, and then once again dipping over the east. So we see warm air racing to the north here across these plains, diving southward for the west, and overall storms are tracking along this jet stream. So we see a lot of activity for all of these areas surrounding that jet stream. Maybe some more snowfall in here, but certainly heavy rainfall for some states within the west is going to be a likelihood here for Tuesday on September 17th. Here is Wednesday on September 18th. We see our tropical system really dissipates. It's 1002 over central Virginia, but still flooding could be a possibility here for the mid-Atlantic, even into southern New England from this system. We've seen this a lot from weaker tropical systems that do move up into this area. Heavy rainmakers at times, so definitely something to watch. We see a stronger low over southern Saskatchewan. We see heavier rainfall spreading into some of the United States, like the northern Rockies, the northern plains as well, but a lot of these western and central provinces of Canada are seeing quite a bit of storminess as a result of this. Even the Canadian Rockies seeing some snowfall there on Wednesday the 18th. Here is Thursday, September 19th, and we see some sporadic showers and thunderstorms around for the eastern states as we have our remnants of our tropical system that this particular model shows developing, breaking up and dissipating, bringing some showers still. The trough is expanding out west, and this ridge is really expanding for the central and eastern states, peaking over the south central into kind of the Midwest states there. Let's take it one step further towards Friday, and what we're going to be seeing is 1003 here over central Canada. Cold front trying to develop, and likely this cold is on its way eastward just as this ridge is peaking in the east. So that is the movement we see here. Let's take a look at the total precipitation. And we get a lot here for the northern Rockies into south central Canada, as you can see. We get quite a bit from your tropical, well, Hurricane Francine that moves up here into some of these Mississippi River areas. And we also get this storm off the southeast coast, moving onshore to some of the southeast and mid-Atlantic. This is going to overall bring above average precipitation to all of these areas if we do see that occur. Now, as we take a look at the total snowfall, the first time of this season, this upcoming snow season that we're looking at it, I want to zoom us into the west. Obviously, nothing happening in the east. So here is the west. We do see perhaps an inch or two for Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, even some of Utah, and some of Colorado here. So these mountains in this area, some of the highest peaks in the Rockies, seeing perhaps an inch or two, maybe a pocket in there seeing 3 to 6 inches, perhaps here near Yellowstone or south of Yellowstone there in Wyoming. Now, the Sierra Nevada, we do get a bit of precipitation with that trough as well. We actually get maybe 6 to 10 in there for some of these mountaintops in the Sierra Nevada. So a pretty early start here to the snow season, but this is a sign of the times. We're starting to see the snowfall trend in. Definitely very, very interesting. Here's the precipitation anomalies, and as you can see, we get quite an above average amount here for the Northwest into the Northern Rockies and South Central Canada. We get a below average amount throughout a lot of the four corner states into the plains, below average for the northeast of the United States, as well as the southeast of Canada, but an above average amount here, as you can see, where all of this tropical activity takes place. So we get kind of in the positive territory for these two areas, whereas we get kind of below average amounts in these pockets. So you can kind of pick up on the trend of the pattern here. As we take a look here at these temperature anomalies, this warmer air is heading eastward slowly but surely. We get this kind of colder air mass underneath this tropical system, which is very, very common. It's actually severely cold compared to normal. Upwards of 20 to 25 degrees below normal there underneath that tropical low from Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee. So expect some cooler, rainier conditions underneath this major storm. We do see cooler temperatures trending in out west, so let's see how this progresses. We take a look at these dates, and there's your next tropical system. Look at these cooler temperatures as a result of it, mostly on the western end of things, but this tropical low is somewhere in there. We're seeing cooler temperatures again. Without that, it would overall be warmer in the east, colder in the west here, but those tropical systems are bringing areas of cooler temperatures within the warm air mass, so that is kind of interesting. As we keep going, though, we do get finally some signs that this warm-up ending. Sign number one, even though we have some cooler conditions for the southwest, we do have overall warmer conditions for most of the west here. This is going to equate to a positive PNA, and we get these cooler temperatures really diving southward for a lot of the central and eastern states there. So definitely more cooldowns on the way. As we take a look at the long range here, this is the 11th through the 16th. Here is the 15th through the 20th. Here's the 20th through the 25th. Here is the 25th through the 30th. And look at this. We get a warming trend out west. Cooler temperatures, especially for the south central states, but even cooler for the east as well compared to what it was. As we keep going, here's the 30th through the 5th, cooler in the east. And certainly the 5th through the 10th here. Look at this. Right back to the warmer out west, colder in the east pattern that we've really seen for the beginning of September. So maybe we start out October the same way we started out September. The only difference is your average temperatures will probably be about 10 degrees lower. So these cooldowns are going to pack a much heavier punch by time we're reaching October. So that is an important note to add, I would say. Let's keep going. As we reach towards the 15th through the 20th, we get another more impressive cooldown here for a lot of the east. So perhaps a cooler month for October, something to watch for. Even the 20th through the 25th features cold in the east. So definitely something that I'm going to be eyeballing. Here's the next 30 days overall. Warmer across especially the central states, but some of the east as well, with cooler along the west as well as the southeast and Gulf states there, even stretching up a lot of the east coast here, as you can see, below average for all of these areas, with above average for all of these areas here. Gonna mark a couple here. So this is the overall look on the temperatures. Here is your European AI models. We kind of just dive into the tropics. With our Gulf system, we see this one strike further east in Louisiana than the rest of the model guidance, so something to watch. We do get a major system trying to develop across the central Atlantic, as well as a tropical system there around the east coast, just as we saw on the European model. So there that is there by the 21st. We also get a major tropical low here across the middle of the Atlantic. Definitely this model is onto something there. And we get another strong tropical wave moving off of Africa as well by the end of September. So there is going to be a lot of action to watch, as well as some potential in the Southern Gulf and Southern Caribbean. Now, for the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, we obviously have Hurricane Francine. We will dive into that system in just a moment, but here is First off, your furthest east disturbance, we have a 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and an 80% chance over the next 7 days of development. So that's going to be a very high chance of development there in the middle of the Atlantic. We've really lowered the odds here with this more southwestern system. This one is standing at 30% chance of development both over the next 2 days and over the next 7 days. So that is going to be a lower chance. Again, don't be surprised to see a chance pop up here between now and tomorrow for the southeast. That would really shock me if we didn't see that. So I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for that, to say the least. Here is your cone forecast here for Hurricane Francine, and we see that it is expected to continue on northeastward until striking somewhere in central or eastern Louisiana as a category 1 or 2 hurricane likely. We do have hurricane warnings up for many folks, so be sure to check out all your warnings, watches, and advisories if you are down there, as there's probably going to be plenty, and that will have a lot of helpful information. It's quickly going to regress down to tropical storm status by 1 a.m. on Thursday between Mississippi and Louisiana, down to a depression by 1 p.m. on Thursday, and it's going to stay that way until reaching southern Illinois, where it'll likely dissipate somewhere in that area along the central Mississippi River area. It's interesting how this storm is going to track really close along that Mississippi River, so definitely might have implications. I'm curious to see what that would basically have in store. Now, for your tropical lows overall on this European ensemble model, we obviously see Francine there, expected to become a pretty major storm. We're starting to get guidance suggesting this system here to watch. So again, something along these lines would be what we would need to watch. And then this one that has an 80% chance of development, it really closely follows what basically the National Hurricane Center has outlined, except we get a lot of deviation here with where it goes after this point. And I'm going to try to kind of point out every major grouping here. But as you can kind of pick up on, anything becomes possible after a certain point. We even have some southern solutions, and these southern ones would be a lot more dangerous for the United States, obviously. The more middle and northern ones, where the majority of models are, thankfully, would be a lot less impactful likely. So this system can truly go anywhere by the time it's reaching the middle of that MDR. Let me see what hour that would be at. I can't really tell, but let's see if we can move this back. Here is days 5. Yeah, so about day 5, that's what I estimated. So about day 5 right here, they're all tight together, but beyond this point, that's when they spread out. So we'll know a lot more after this point, I would suspect. But definitely it could track southward and potentially be posing a risk to the Caribbean or the United States, or it could be pointed out to sea, which seems like the more majority outcome here. So a lot to track there out in the tropics. We're definitely going to be keeping an eye on it, and we do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe to see those videos. You can also hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.